I hate planning family holidays, so here's how I do it with no stress. Family holidays always bring back memories of being messy and disorganized and, standing in a hotel lobby trying to figure out where our booking reference is. Family trips can also be a little bit disorganized and chaotic when you've got a whole bunch of people who want to do and see different things. Trying to organize activities for multiple different parties can often end up feeling so chaotic. So the solution to all of this is easy. Let me show you my super simple travel planning process so you can create a travel itinerary that everybody can read and, more importantly, that everybody can understand. So over the past 10 years, I have planned plenty of successful family adventures, both domestically in New Zealand and overseas. And I like to think it's because I've been a lawyer for the past 8 years that keeping it super simple is the easiest way to go, because time is money and details are important. So let me show you how I do it. The reason why I like this process and it's so simple is because you don't need any special applications or programs to plan like this. So even though I am an avid user of Notion, this particular way of planning, I like to do it on Google Docs. And I like to store all of my stuff on Google Drive, but you could do it on Microsoft Word. You could even do it on Microsoft PowerPoint, or if you really wanted to, you could do it on Apple Pages, etc. So you're going to start off at Google. You're going to make sure you're signed in so that you have access to Google Drive. If you don't have a Google account, then you can sign up for free. And then you're going to head over to your Google Drive. So once you're in your Google Drive, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to create 2 folders. The first folder is going to be called All Booking Documents. And the second folder is going to be called Itinerary. Now, we'll get to why you need 2 folders in a second, but to begin with, now in our itinerary folder, we're going to create 2 Google Docs. So the first one, we're going to call it, you can call it itinerary, or you could even call it travel plans. And you're going to go back to your folder and you're going to create another Google Doc. And I'm going to call this one Costs Comparison Table. Okay, so our cost comparison table is really where we're going to keep track of how much everything costs. It's also a really good way to easily compare different options. So normally what I do to set up this page is I will insert a table, generally 5 columns across and 2 rows down. 5 columns across and 2 rows down, and this end I will put total. So I always like to keep the total of whatever I'm trying to cost out or compare in the right hand corner, and then in here I will put activity or location. To give you an idea on what this might look like, I'm going to paste in the table that I used for our April trip to China. So what we were trying to do here is figure out where we might like to go before we went to China. And so I've got a couple of options. So the first option was to go from Auckland to Singapore. The second was to go from Auckland to Tokyo. And the third was to go from Auckland to Seoul. Each of these gave us a slightly different price based on what we wanted. We wanted to do a minimum of a 3-night stopover. And when we look from Auckland to Singapore, return from Shanghai, it was 6,673. Auckland to Tokyo, return from Shanghai was 7,979. And then we had the direct to Tokyo, and then we had Auckland to Seoul and home from Shanghai. Because each of those routes was different, I wanted to track the best price for us. I like to keep this table and my running costs in a separate table from my itinerary, because it means if we are traveling in a group party, often our costs are going to start becoming combined. So it's cheaper to book an Airbnb for everybody as opposed to 3 or 4 different hotel rooms then I can include the cost of an Airbnb in here and have the running total cost, and also add another column where, for example, we were traveling with my parents here. So this may be the total running cost, and I'll give it a slightly different color so that I know that this is the total running cost for everything. And then sometimes I like to include another column where I can separate out the other party's traveling costs that they might owe me, or that I might owe them for covering the costs of whatever we're splitting the cost of. We do use apps like Splitwise when we are traveling with family parties. It makes it so much easier. But when you're doing the bookings, sometimes you just want all of the costs in one place that everybody can look at, and that's what I really like about this costs and comparison table. In our travel plans document, this is where we're going to build our itinerary, and this is going to be what you share with everybody in your party. To begin with, I like to give it a title. For this one, I'm going to use our trip to Japan as an example. I like to give it a title. I like to make my title really big so everyone knows what this document is. Sometimes I like to change the color, but today I'm just going to leave it as is. And down from the title, I'm going to include 4 lines. And in the first line, I'm going to include my insurer. The next one, I'm going to include our policy number. Then I'm going to include the contact phone number for my insurer. If you are traveling overseas from your home country, make sure you include the area code for your insurance contact number, and then I'm going to include the contact email address. I like to put this stuff front and center so that if you are ever in a situation where you need insurance, you've had a car accident, so you need your excess covered, or you've lost your baggage, or your flights have been cancelled and you need accommodation, you know exactly where to go to get all of that information and you can be ready. Then what I'm going to do is insert a table with 3 columns and 2 rows. I like to stretch my tables out a little bit because it gives me more room to include the information that I need. And the first column you're going to make a little bit smaller. In your first column, you're going to include your location. The second column includes all of the activities that you're going to do. In the third column, I like to include accommodation. Now, when I'm creating my table, I like to put a few rows in because I'm going to merge the first row. And this is going to be where our date goes. So if I am flying tomorrow, I would put tomorrow's date. I'm going to change that so it's really clear that that's the date, and that will make the basis of our travel itinerary table. Now I'm going to get rid of that table because I already have a table pre-made, and it's really hard to create a table from nothing if you are not actually planning a trip. So I'm going to use the table that we created for our last trip to Japan, which was last year in October. You can either have this in portrait or landscape mode. For that trip, I used landscape. So I'm just going to change my document and I'm going to insert my table. And this is the example of what your travel itinerary will look like once you start putting the information in it. So again, I like to include the location in the left-hand column or the first column. As we move through, the location changes. So we flew from Auckland, all of the flight details that we need from Auckland. I also like to include in here the reference number, and I'll show you what we do with that in a second. The layout is super simple. It should be pretty easy for most people to understand what's going on where you're staying, because accommodation is always going to be in the right hand column and your activities are always going to be in the middle. What you would do is you would just push your tab button and create a couple more rows below. Again, merge, copy, paste, and change the date. So there are a couple of tips as well that I like to use to help make this plan super simple. The first one is we're going to link every single accommodation that you're staying at to Google Maps. If you're traveling to Japan, Google Maps is amazing. The entire subway system is loaded into it. It's super simple to link your accommodation to the Google Maps and use that link as a way to find your way around the city using the subway. But if you are traveling to somewhere like Korea, then you might want to link it to Navimaps, which is the one that includes all of their subway stuff and is a lot easier to use and navigate when you're in Korea. What we're going to do is over here, we're staying at the Narita Tobu Hotel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put that into Google Maps. There are a couple of things on this page that I really want to point out. So the first thing is the name is in Japanese or kanji just underneath here. So if you are traveling to another country that doesn't speak English as its primary language, then a really simple tip is to include wherever you're staying or the activities that you're doing in the local language. We're going to highlight the name. So once we've found the place in Google Maps, I'm going to just copy the Japanese name here. And I'm going to paste it into my itinerary. So we have a copy of the name in Japanese just in case. The other thing I'm going to do is I am going to go to share, copy link, this one here, and go back and copy the name of the hotel, and then I am going to insert link or Control K, Command K if you're on a Mac, and push paste and apply. Now what will happen is when you click on that link, it will take you to the Google Maps page wherever your accommodation is located. So it's taking us straight to the Narita Tobu Hotel. If we were stuck at Shibuya, we could make our way using public transport or even a cab out to the hotel that we were staying at. The second thing is if you can find so here I found the Japanese name for the hotel. If you can find the address in the local language as well, then that will also make it super easy. The next thing that I like to do is link booking references into my itinerary. So the reason why I made you create 2 folders is because in the all booking documents one, you're going to save your booking documents into this folder so that you can link it into your itinerary. This is an example of what it would look like. In this folder, I have included a PDF version of all of our booking references that we needed for our trip to the UK all the way back in 2019. So we have included the emails with the reference numbers. I like to keep it all in one folder so that it's really easy to find. I also share this folder with our trusted contact back in New Zealand. I like to link our booking reference documents to our itinerary, and I am going to use our UK itinerary. So for example, we've got a bus reference here for EasyBus. From Liverpool Street Station out to Stansted Airport. It has a reference number attached. What we're going to do is back where all of our PDF documents are, I'm going to find that booking. I'm going to click the 3 dots, go down to share and copy link. Then back in my itinerary, I'm going to insert link, paste that link in there and push apply. Now, if I was to open this on my phone while we're on the go and I'm looking for my reference number, or I might need the contact phone number of the company for whatever reason, I can just click on that and it will open my booking document with all of my information there. There are a couple of ways to share your itinerary with everybody that's traveling with you and even with your trusted person back home. If I want to work with somebody on the itinerary, the easiest way to do that is to click share, add whoever you want to help work with you on the itinerary, add their email address and click done. It will send them a copy to the link. You can decide whether you want them to view or edit the document with you. You can also go copy link and email it out to anybody as well. The last way that I also like to share this document is to download it, and I like to download it in a PDF version. So I'm going to click save and your travel plans. Nowadays, most people do use their phones or their iPads when they're traveling, but I always like to have a paper copy. So once I've turned it into a PDF, I generally print it and put it into our suitcase before we leave. Carrying a paper copy and having a copy like this that's easily accessible on Google Drive is always good if you're having connectivity issues or battery issues. Sometimes you can't always rely on technology when you're traveling. For our last trip to Japan, I actually popped our travel plans onto a free website that was accessible by everybody in our party. If you want to learn how to do that, I will definitely include a link below in the description on how you can take your travel plans from your Google Doc and turn it into an amazing website that is easily accessible by everybody. If you're also interested in how to take better travel photography and videos, make sure you check out my TikTok page. I am sharing currently 100 easy tips on how to get better travel videos. My TikTok is at Pretty Far From Home. And if you're just about to get into planning your very own family adventure, I would love to see the results of it. So make sure you tag me in any YouTube videos you upload. If you have any tips or tricks on how to better improve this plan, then by all means send them through. Otherwise, I wish you the best on your next travel adventures, and I'll see you in the next video.